Okay, right. Actually, today we plan a live session. We are planning to focus about some key theoretical aspects in CL1 Advanced Audit and Assurance subject. I hope you are getting ready for the exam. So with this Ditwa disaster, it was postponed. I think some of the students affected. Hope if we are having some students here, hope now you are recovering, and we are here to support you all. And others, actually, uh, we are having a good time to study, and I hope that you can capitalize it. Today I am planning to discuss with you all the core area of the subject, that's about gathering audit evidence. That is the area in the syllabus they have given this highest weightage, uh, because once you are conducting audit procedures for each and every area according to the risk, we need to gather audit evidence, right? So basically, overall audit paper, CL1 paper, giving high weightage, no, high priority for this section. It means gathering audit evidence. So my plan is to discuss with you all the key audit procedures about the highly focused areas. And then I'm planning to discuss the type of questions will be tested in this area and how we are going to basically respond to that question, right? Uh, Question is, are we need to uh, this memorize all the working steps, audit procedures for each and every area? It will be very difficult, right? It is not practical basically. Let's say industry wise, each and every specific balances. Keep remember that each and every audit procedures may not be that much practical, right? So what we have to do, how we are going to practically approach, and how we are going to identify risk areas, and how we are going to suggest audit responses to gathering audit evidence. So that is the topic I am planning to discuss here. So I uh, prepare some slide deck here. So you all can ask questions as well. I will share my screen. You can confirm that whether it's visible. Give me a second. I'm sharing my screen. Yeah. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can see.
Right. Okay, good. Cool.
Sir, we can't audible to you. Your mic is mute.
How about now?
Now audible.
Okay, cool. Basically, this is an area, uh, highly focused area, because performing audit procedures and gathering audit evidences. Basically, as auditor, we need to focus about the risk, as well as we need to decide audit procedures. Once you are deciding audit procedures, always we need to focus about what? quality and the quantity, right? Once you are planning your audit procedures, we need to focus about the audit quality and the audit quality of audit evidence and the quantity of the audit evidence. It means sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, right? We know that once you are defining this audit and assurance process, right? We have clear definition that assurance process is gathering audit evidence to address the audit risk to acceptable low level. That audit evidence should be sufficient and appropriate, right? Sufficient and appropriate means the quality and the quantity, right? Keep remember that. Once you are writing an answer, very important to use these buzzwords, audit related jargons, right? Okay. And once you are gathering audit evidence, basically we can gather audit evidence from different sources, right? Different evidence sources are there. Maybe written evidence, maybe oral evidence, original documents, external document, internal document, right? As auditor, once you are completing your audit procedures, you should know what are the quality audit evidence, reliable audit evidence, right? That should be evaluated. So I'm discussing here the basic background of gathering audit evidence, right? Gathering audit evidence means where we are now. So we plan audit and we assess the risk assessment. I hope that you went through all these documents and you are comfortable with risk assessment, right? So if you are having any questions, you can ask from me. Now, today, I am starting what? I'm starting how we are going to perform audit and how we are going to perform audit procedures, and then how we are going to gather audit evidence and how we are going to document it. That's the area we are focusing. After discussing this area, I can cover most of the areas in the syllabus, and we can jump into the question paper and we can go through that and answer some of the questions. Then you are very comfortable with the content. So that's my target. So we are once you are focusing about the exam paper, what is the question we are targeting now? We know we have 3 sections in the paper. First one, MCQ. Second section, some small 4 questions are there. And then section 3 having 2 large questions. Under these 2 large questions, first question having maybe 4-5 areas. These 4-5 areas, from these 4-5 areas, first 3 questions related to this area. First 3 questions, and overall paper consists with more than 30% of the paper related to this area, gathering audit evidence, right? So now we are putting our foundation, and we'll quickly go through some of the procedures, and we can jump to the paper and we'll discuss one question, or not a detailed question, basically how we are going to approach that question, right? Okay. What I'm discussing here is, once you are gathering audit evidence, we should know that we may have different evidence sources, internal evidence, external evidence, and original documents, written documents, whatever the audit area, right? That's what I am telling. Don't, memorize audit procedures. You need to be very practical after having this knowledge. You need to have proper understanding about the general understanding. And by using general understanding about audit procedures, using audit jargons and write the paper. That's the way we need to follow, right? Okay. What are the examples for external and internal evidence? If you are auditing in an organization financial statement, external evidence and internal evidence. Maybe you may have much of the evidence, internal evidence, right? External evidence may be very difficult to get, but if we can get it, that is more trustworthy, right? So that is the more stronger than internal evidence, right? So that's the normal understanding. Example, let's say you are having this bank balance in the books, and you are getting bank statement and bank confirmation, right? You have the bank balance in the books, but once you are getting the confirmation from third party, it is a more strong evidence. Why? That more than internal evidence, external evidence is more strong, right? Written evidence and oral evidence. Once you are having discussions, management can say that this is the way they are performing, and we have this type of strategies. Likewise, they may have oral communication, but written communication may be more strong. And original documents, photocopies, right? Duplicate documents may be there, right? Let's say you are purchasing a land, you need to see the original, maybe land deed, right? Maybe land transaction evidence. Original evidence should be taken. Likewise, whatever the area you are gathering audit evidence, you should know that these sources of audit evidence, right? Accordingly, you can decide whether it is the quality and the reliability. These are the two qualities we need to focus. These are the sources we need to understand, right? With that understanding, I have divided here the internal sources and external sources. As you know that internal sources basically observation, internal reports, or else maybe inquiries, recalculations, right? Sometimes you can get support from internal auditors if they are having internal audit department, right? Likewise, you may have different sources of evidence, right? Internal sources. External sources, basically uh, bankers and some third parties, some customer confirmations, right? Competitor data, or else maybe industry analytical reports or independent valuers report, right? Lawyers confirmation, sometimes general publications, many resources. I have mentioned some of them. Before we are jumping to the specific areas, we need to know basically what are the sources we can get evidence as a auditor, right? Here we are discussing about gathering audit evidence. It means to gather the audit evidence, we should know the sources, right? Uh, Basically, external sources and internal sources are there, right? And then here I have mentioned here, so once you are performing gathering audit evidence, always we are focusing about account balances, transactions, and disclosures. As I explained in many of the videos, uh, as auditor, we are focusing about account balances, transactions, and disclosures, right? We are having draft financial statement. Now we are performing audit procedures. Why? Why we are performing audit procedures? To ensure account balances, transactions, and disclosures. Keep remember that three words, right? We are always working hard, performing audit procedures to gather audit evidence to ensure what? Account balances and disclosures. Account balances and disclosures are the main content of the financial statement, right? So if we ask a question, what are the elements of a financial statement? What you are going to say? In a financial statement, you can see account balances and disclosures, right? අපි අහන ප්‍රශ්නයක් accounts financial statement හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා. කොහොමද හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ? හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ account balances වලිනුයි disclosures වලිනුයි. So as auditor, what we have to do? We need to perform audit procedures to ensure that account balances and disclosures. So why we are worrying about transactions? Transactions. Can we see transaction in the financial statements? Yes. Transactions, we can't see the transaction. Whatever the transaction results, are reflected as account balances and disclosures, right? Because of transactions during the period, we are ending with new account balances and changed account balances and updated disclosures at the year end. So then as auditor, without focusing in transactions, how we are going to audit account balances and disclosures? Definitely we need to focus about what? Transactions. We need to understand the transactions and the control environment, and then we need to verify the transaction, and then we can understand the balances and we can verify the balances and disclosures. Once we are verifying balances and disclosures, basically what we are going to focus. අපි balance එකක් verify කරනවා, disclosure එකක් verify කරනවා, test කරනවා. To test that, we are gathering audit evidence. How we are going to gather audit evidence? We are performing audit procedures. Once you are performing audit procedures, what are the focus areas? How we are going to ensure that? Normally, let's say account balance, example, maybe cash balance or PP&E balance. As auditor, we need to ensure that whether it is correct or not, right? What do you mean by that? අපි නිකන් කියනවා නේද? ඒක ඒ balance එක හරිද වැරදිද කියලා අපි බලන්න ඕන. Before we are issuing our audit opinion, true and fair view, one by one balances and disclosures, basically significant account balances and significant disclosures. ඒකට අපෙන් question එකක් අහුවොත් auditor විදියට හැම account balance එකම බලන්න ඕනද? නෑ. But we have to focus significant account balances and significant disclosures. Significant disclosures, account balances කියන්නේ මොනවද? Those are the account balances and disclosures which are relevant to stakeholders decision making. That is why we are telling that those are significant, right? Those are significant. Why? How we are going to identify those? Based on our materiality level and based on our judgment. Not only the materiality level, keep remember that. Not only the materiality level, we are selecting significant account. Based on the judgment also, we are identifying significant account. Why? What's the reason? There may be, there are materiality level, maybe performance materiality level or tolerable error, maybe 2 million. But there is a 150,000 legal charge. So 2 million අපේ TE එකයි, tolerable error එකයි, maybe 4 million planning materiality එකයි, බැලුවම 150,000 mean very small balance, no? We can say that that is insignificant, not material. It's an insignificant account balance. But by the judgment, by the nature, if it is a legal charge, if it is 50,000 or 150,000 or 1 million, it will be a significant account. It is very sensitive account because of the legal charge behind that, there may be some, maybe legal case to the organization that will charge another material provision to the balance sheet. If this company getting caught because of that legal case, if you are supposed to pay some penalty, definitely that penalty should be a provision in the financial statement. If it is doubtful, it will be a contingent liability disclosure. Because of that, whatever the small balances may be a significant account. That is another story. But here we are discussing, once we are gathering audit evidence as auditor, what are the areas we need to focus, what we are going to achieve, what we are going to ensure, basically. Those we can say that assertions, right? Once we are evaluating a balance, basically we are focusing about assertion relating to that account balances or disclosure, right? If we are, let's say, we want to ensure the balance, we are focusing about not only the whole balance, we are focusing about the assertion of the balance, right? Once you are ensuring assertions, obviously that balance will be getting confirmed. That's the approach we should focus. Normally you are asking whether that balance is correct or not. Correct or not. As I said, maybe PP&E balance, whether that balance is correct or not. To ensure that, we need to check whether these assertions are there or not. Assertions are the confirmations given by the management to the public. So they are telling one confirmation, one message to the public. What is that message? Public or whatever the financial statement uses, right? If it is a listed company, that is to the public, right? It's a private limited company, maybe the relevant stakeholders. What's the message they are giving? Once you are signing financial statements, what's the message they are giving? Under the balance sheet, you know that there's a signature from the directors and the financial controller. What's the message they are supposed to give?
The
They are telling
financial
that,
statements, the
yeah,
financial statements are free from material misstatements.
yeah, okay, good, Nirmal. මම හිතුවේ කට්ටිය කතා කරන එකක් නැහැ කියලා. කතා කරන කට්ටිය ඉන්නවනම් හරි ෂෝ. So we can discuss a lot. අපි මැනේජ්මන්ට් එක හරියටම හරි. මැනේජ්මන්ට් එක ෆයිනෑන්ෂල්ස් යටින් සයින් කරනකොට කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? එයා සයින් කරලා දෙන්නේ these financial statements are correct. Means, right? So maybe your P&L balances, disclosures, and revenue, as well as balance sheet items or earning per share, all the informations are correct. That's the message they are giving to the public. So as auditor, we need to ensure that that message, once you are going in detail about that message, that is about assertions, right? So if you are getting one balance, let's say cash, they have signed the financials, it means cash balance is correct. They are telling that cash balance is cash balance is complete, and cash balance is valuation correct, cash balance is existence correct, right and obligation correct, presentation and disclosure correct. Those are the messages, those are the confirmations given by the management to the public. එයා කියනවා අදට තියෙන cash balance එක හරි. Cash balance එක හරි කියන්නේ, what do you mean by that? All the cash items are recorded. It has not been missed anything, right? That is called completeness. Completeness. ඒකෙන් කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? අපේ, let's say we are having petty cash and short-term treasury bill bond, short-term financial instruments, maybe less than 3 months, right? And then we are having received checks, and we are having current account balances, saving account balances, all together, all the relevant, all the cash related to this entity has been disclosed. Anything we have not missed, anything we have not recorded, other than that means other company accounts, some other subsidiary accounts, owners current accounts, all those things have removed. We have recorded only cash balance related to this company. That is called completeness, right? And then valuation. How about the valuation about cash? Valuation about cash may not be a challenge, right? It is not a risky assertion. What do you mean by that? Our cash balance is 2 million. How about the valuation? Do we need to get an external valuer to value it? No. What a 5,000 note එකක් දෙනවා. ඔයාට 5,000 note එකක් දීලා ඔයාගෙන් අහනවා මේකේ value එක කීයද කියලා. ඒකේ value එක කීයද කියලා ඔයාට doubt එකක් තියෙනවද? Cash වල value එක කියන්න. No, there's no doubt, right? 5,000 equal to 5,000. There's no risk about the valuation. How about the same asset? ඔයාට පෙන්නනවා bicycle එකක්. Bicycle එකක් පෙන්නලා ඔයාට කියනවා මේකේ value එක කීයද කියලා. It's really difficult to give a value, right? For you are giving a value. It may be different with your friend's value. It may be differs with your accountant value. That's the nature, right? The valuation of cash may be very less risky. But if you are in an organization, you are having foreign currency. If you want to translate this foreign currency to functional currency, if there's a exchange gain or loss once you are using your ask price and the bid price, buying rate and the selling rate, the way you are converting monetary asset and non-monetary asset, that will create a risk. So, right, if you are dealing with foreign currency, the valuation assertion may be challenging. Otherwise, there's no risk. That is called valuation of cash, right? And then presentation and disclosure. So basically, cash flow standard is there, financial instrument standard is there. Accordingly, we can disclose this cash and cash equivalent in the balance sheet, right? And right and obligation, whatever the right and obligation, right? Basically, we are discussing right and obligation. We are focusing about asset. If it is so right to control the asset. Do we have that right to control the asset? We need to ensure that without having that right, we can't recognize the asset. Not right means right to control the asset. Keep in mind that. And then existence. Existence means as at this date, what's the amount exist for this entity, right? Those are the basic assertions. To ensure these assertions, we need to gather audit evidence. If we are focusing about maybe a P&L item, maybe revenue, bit different assertions, right? Yeah, basically this occurrence and measurement relating to P&L items. Existence and basically valuation relates to what? Balance sheet items. And this green color, completeness, presentation, and disclosure, right and obligation relates to both balances, right? Whether it's a P&L balance or balance sheet item, this completeness and presentation, disclosure, right and obligation relevant, right? Keep in mind that we are gathering audit evidence to ensure these assertions are there or not, which was given by the management, right? එහෙනම් අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? අපි inventory වලට audit procedures කරනවා, audit evidence gather කරනවා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? To check the inventory balance. In other words, inventory related assertion should be confirmed end of the day. Before we are issuing the audit opinion, inventory balance related assertion should be verified and confirmed, right? Let's say you are having a question in the inventory related question. So what we have to do? What's your focus? We need to focus first about what are the assertions, right? Assertions and risky assertions. We need to focus about what are the risky assertions, right? According to the account balance, right? So that's the basic understanding. Let's move forward. We can have proper understanding today, and you can ask questions. I'm quickly go through, and then you can start your studies very fast way. To ensure these assertions, we are having basically two audit procedures, basically, right? Two audit procedures: test of controls and substantive procedures. Test of controls and substantive procedures. Basically, once you are deciding test of controls and substantive procedures, that will be decided based on your audit approach, right? Audit approach. Your audit approach will be decided whether you are going to do substantive procedures alone or you are going to do TOC plus substantive procedures. What do you mean by this audit approach? Audit approach කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? What do you mean by that? Any idea about audit approach? After doing your risk assessment, after completing your risk assessment, that is the main conclusion you are getting for some account balances or for the overall audit, right? What is the approach you are going to do, right? What is the approach mean? Full substantive approach or control reliance approach. Control reliance approach, right? How we are going to decide that? What are the areas we are going to do full substantive approach and basically test of controls? Any idea how you are going to decide that? කොහොමද කරන්නේ? And අපි substantive procedures gathering audit evidence වලට යන්න කලින් මට මෙහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන්. ටක් ගාලා balance එකක් ගත්තා. ඒකට මෙන්න මේ test procedures තමයි කරන්නේ. We have to do these substantive procedures. We have to do this TOC, and I can give some steps. You are going to remember all those things, and that is not the way we are doing auditing, right? එතකොට අපි පාඩම් කරගෙන ගිය මොනවද balance එකක් වෙන්න ඕන audit paper එකට. අපි බලාගෙන යන audit මොනවද balance එක මෙන්න ඕන paper එකට ඒ procedures ටික ලියන්න. දැන් අපි මේ ඉගෙන ගන්නේ කොහොමද? ඕනම company එකක් ආවත් මොන balance එක audit කරන්න කිව්වත් we can decide as a human being who are having some audit knowledge, some theoretical knowledge. Sometimes you may have practical audit experience. That is a bonus, right? It is not a must. Each and every students who are facing to CL1, no need to have CL1, audit experience, right? Audit experience තියෙනකොට සමහරවිට අමාරු වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. මොකද you are having different type of experience, different industries, different sectors. You are maybe audit expert, right? Once you are writing to a question, you are putting all the things you are knowing, right? So examiner should do another exam to search the answer. That is not the way, right? So audit කරනවා නම් careful වෙන්න, දන්න සේරම ලියන්න හදන්න එපා paper එකට. paper එක අහන්නේ පැය 3ට හරි limited area එකක්. You are capable to answer. Keep remember that you have to be smart enough to give the exact answer, right? Okay, cool. What we are discussing, how we are going to decide our audit approach. ඒකට answer එකක් තියෙනවද කාගේ හරි ගාව? චුට්ටක් කතා කරනවා නම් හොඳයි නේ. නැත්නම් මමම කතා කරනකොට boring වෙන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද අපි audit approach ගැන idea එකක් තියෙනවා? මම කියලා දෙන්නද කෙලින්ම අපි audit procedures ගැන කතා කරනවාද?
පොඩි
කවුද
බ්‍රීෆ් එකක් දෙන්න
පොඩි-
නේද?
මොනවද නිර්මාල්?
පොඩි බ්‍රීෆ් එකක් දෙන්න සර්.
Right, okay, good. අනිත් අයත් කතා කරන්න. So here we have Gayatri, Darshan, Nirmal, Vasant, right? So you can ask questions, you can practically decide, after having this type of sessions, and you can be real auditor, and that can be approached, that can be used not only for your exam, right? I'm always telling this is very useful subject, because after having this knowledge, that will be very useful to in your practical working life, because definitely you will be auditee. 95%, 98% chance is there to be auditee, right? You will represent finance division, right? Auditors are coming, maybe internal or external. Having auditing knowledge is a bonus, right? So dealing with auditor, preparing for audit, having audit knowledge is really important. You should know that, right? So this will be audited. Because of that, this is the way they are selecting sample. This is the evidence they are asking. They are always asking original evidence. Because of that, we need to keep this evidence. Likewise, you can be prepared from January onwards to the audit. If you are a good accountant who are having audit knowledge. That's why we are learning, not for the exam. CL1 easy, right? CL1 is very easy. You can pass easily. Don't worry, right? Right, okay. So here I am sharing my screen. I open an Excel sheet. Can you all see this Excel sheet?
Visible sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I am telling that how we are going to decide your audit approach, right? Whatever the account balance, whatever the area you are focusing, whatever the questions you are getting, you should have this knowledge. How you are deciding audit approach. right? Keep focus and ask, keep focus and listen and understand it. That's very important, right? Here, once we are having a control environment, we are having controls in organizations, right? Controls in a uh, controls in organization. Once we are considering controls, next step is control framework, right? In organization, we are having a control framework, right? Control framework is there. Why we are having a control framework? To address the business risk and other risk. Always we are putting a control. Always we are putting a control for risk, right? Without a risk, we are not putting a control, right? Risk. To address the risk management, putting controls. Keep remember that. Risk means the deviation from your expectation. Deviation from your expectation. That's the basic understanding, right? Why exam එකට යන එකේ risk එක මොකද්ද? exam එකට යන එකේ risk එක ඔයාගේ expectation එක මොකද්ද? exam එක pass වෙන එක. risk එක මොකද්ද? fail වෙන එක. Right? That's a risk. Because of that, what we have to do? If we have a risk, what we have to do? We need to prepare for the exam. Right? Prepare for the exam. ඔයාට නිදා ගන්නකොට තියෙනවා ප්‍රශ්නයක්. Once you are going to the bed, there's a risk at which time you are going to wake up. උදේට වැඩට යන්න තියෙනවා. So you are having many commitments in early morning, but you have inherent limitations. Once you are going to sleep, very difficult to wake up. සමහර කට්ටියට ඒක නැහැ, but most of the thing, including me, very difficult to get up early morning, right? So what we are going, is that a risk? Yes, it is a risk. What's the expectation? Early morning, we need to wake up. That's the expectation. But there's a risk. What is the risk? We can get delay. For that, we are putting a control. What is that? We are putting alarm, right? Once you are putting that alarm, at the point of putting that alarm, it is creating a risk. What is that risk? That is called control risk. Whether that alarm it's work or not. Once you are putting that alarm, sometimes you may not hear that. Sometimes that alarm may not be, that much of strong to, wake up. You are in a deep, sleep. So because of that control, there may be a risk that is called control risk, right? There may be inherent risk and control risk, right? Always we are putting controls for risk. That you have to remember that all the controls implemented because of risk, right? To address the risk, we are putting controls. As the management, are they need to reduce the risk to zero? As a businessman, no need, right? They have to take risk. Then and there they can earn money. So high risk, high return. They have to have a risk appetite. Whatever the organization, whatever the person, right? They are having a risk appetite. Within that risk appetite, they need to accept some of the risk. And beyond that, definitely you have to have a control, right? We need to have a risk appetite. Within that, we need to play by using the risk, right? Then we are putting controls. That controls, we need to develop a framework, not only one control, right? We need to have a proper control framework. We should have a risk assessment function, and we need to have a control environment, and then monitoring function, as well as human resource communications, right? Control framework should be there in organization. Okay. Now we are moving to our audit approach. Keep remember that, right? Once you are discussing a control, basically we are having four stages. Design, implementation, operation, and monitoring. Design, implementation, operation, and monitoring. Whatever the controls you are having, these 4 stages are there. Whatever the controls you are discussing, these 4 stages are there. What are they? Design, implementation, operation, and monitoring. Keep remember that. Whatever the control type, preventive or detective, application or IT general control, decentralized control, centralized control, whatever the type controls, you should have a design, implementation, and operation and monitoring, right? You as a management, they should design the control, right? Design mean they should decide that who, how, what, when. Control attributes should be decided, right? Control attributes should be decided. So I'm getting example. What a millions of examples ගන්න පුළුවන් නේද? Millions of examples ගන්න පුළුවන්. අපි ගන්නවා සරල example එකක්. Simple example, right? Simple example. More than 500,000 payment should be approved by the CFO. CFO should be signed, should be approved, right? CFO should be approved more than 500,000 payment. What is the design? Who? CFO, how? Should be manually approved by using his pen. He has to approve. Who, how, what? More than 500,000 payment. When? Payment එක කරාට පස්සේද? කරන්න කලින්ද? කරනකොටමද කරාට පස්සේ කියන්නේ මාසෙම කරපු 500,000 payments month end එකේ ඇවිල්ලා sign කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? Can we do that? Can't do, right? Before the payment. When? So then we have to be very careful once you are designing control design. That is a control design, right? That's a control design. හොඳම control design එකක් තියෙනවා දැන් ATM machine වල නේද? කලින් ATM machine වල මොකද උනේ? කලින් ATM machine වල මේ අපිට cash මොනවද? Cash after getting cash they are returning the card, right? After giving the cash they are returning the card. So people after seeing this cash, people are very greedy to this cash, right? Getting cash and they are forgetting out the ATM card. So there was a huge queue in the banks to renew ATM card or get new cards. New cards queue may be very long and they have to have much admin process. Now what they are doing? They change the control. When they are giving the card now? Before the cash, they are giving the card. They change the design of the control, right? That's all about what? Design of the control. Keep remember that. Control design, control implement. We need to design first and implement it. Right? Implement it. Implement and operate. What do you mean by that? Like similar, right? Implement and operate. Is that similar thing or two different things? Design understand kara. We need to design. Top management should decide it and design it and implement it. Start it. To that, we need to have a decision, approval, and we need to have resources and initiate it. And initiate and process it within the period. That is called operation. Okay. Example. The example taken, we took this example, more than 500,000 payment should be approved by the CFO, right? Should be approved by the CFO by using maybe signature, right? So for this control, what we have to do? For this control, we should have a CFO, right? We should have a CFO. And CFO should be available and it should be communicated to the CFO. And there should be a approval mechanism. Okay. And that should be communicated. That should be implemented, right? And operation. Operation is what? Operation is what? Operation means from January to December, all the 500,000, more than 500,000 payments should be approved. That is called operation, right? Operation should be there. Um, After implementing, let's say 3 months, 3 months, itara, may more than 500,000 තියාගන්න. ඊට පස්සේ ඕන දෙයක් approve කර යනවා. Is that the way? No, that is not good. That is not correct, right? That is not correct. Within the period, it should be there. Another example, let's say in a branch, right? In a branch, maybe a bank or leasing company, you know that they are having safe, right? Safe mean for the security purpose, for keeping cash or gold item, or maybe articles, or maybe some other, maybe checks, to keep all these high, liquid items. We are keeping a safe. For this safe, we are having dual control. Dual control. Dual control means we are having two keys with two executives, right? So what's the design? What is the design? We should have a safe, and we should have a dual keys with two executives. Both of them should come early morning, and with their own keys, they should open the safe. Then they can get out all the secured items and use it. And end of the day, both should go there and keep all these secured item in the safe, and you can close. So that is the design. Implement it. We bought a safe, and we are having two executives. All the things implemented, right? After communicating all these things, first 3 months they did perfectly, right? First 3 months they did it perfectly. So after first 3 months, what they are doing? ඒ key දෙකම එක්කෙනෙක් තියාගෙන වෙල උදේට safe එක ඇරලා whatever the items you are getting out. එතකොට අපේ operation එක ඕකේද? නෑ, operation එක ඕකේ නෑ. අපි design කරා, implement කරා, operation එක fail. Operation එක fail, right? And what do you mean by monitoring? Monitoring. What do you mean by monitoring? Monitoring means once you are implementing a control, we should monitor that control. We can say that monitoring, we can say that control on control. Control on control, right? In other words, this is a type of a detective control. Monitoring, we can't say that monitoring is detective controls, right? For monitoring, we are normally using detective controls, right? I hope you are okay with detective controls, preventive controls, and the detective controls, right? Preventive controls and the detective controls. Why? Monitoring. What do you mean by this? Here the same example. CFO should authorize this more than 500,000 payments. What we need to monitor this? දැන් අපි auditor විදියට ගිහිල්ලා දැන් අපි audit කරන්න යනවා. We are asking from CFO how to ensure that all the more than 500,000 payment has been approved by the CFO. In other words, how to ensure that all these significant payments has been properly approved. That's your question, right? The CFO telling that, yes, we are having a proper control. So more than 500,000 payment should be approved by the CFO. That is, control is there. We have communicated it. It was in the procedure manual. That's happened during the period. So you ask again, how to ensure that, how you are going to confirm that all this payment has been approved and there's no any payments within the period not approved more than 500,000. How to ensure that? Management should have answer for it. Management එකට answer එකක් නැත්නම් ඒකට what you have to do? There should be a monitoring function. Monitoring control is there. Monitoring control should be there. Which type of control? Which type of controls? At least maybe a month in, there should be a team, maybe MIS, management information team, or data house, or different teams are there. They have to run all the 500,000 payments and check whether they have approved or not. It's type of a reconciliation. It's type of a data analytics at the month end. So after it don't want to be the month end. It may be a quarter end. Quarterly, you are checking that is there any more than 500,000 payment has not been approved. So within the period we had 200,000 payments. Only 2 payments has not been approved. You can ask from the CFO what's the reason not approving that. So if we are having that type of a control, you can tell to auditors, yes, we have these preventive controls. More than 500,000 payments should be approved by the CFO. We are having not only that, we are having the monitoring control. At each quarter end, we are analyzing all the data and identifying anything they have missed. So within that last year, we analyzed this. We didn't have any unauthorized payment. All the payments approved. Now, that is a proper control environment, right? They are having design, implementation, operation, and the monitoring. Keep remember this before we are going to audit approach, right? We are going to audit approach. With this understanding, now I am slowly moving to audit approach, right? Okay, cool. Right. Audit design, implementation, operation, and monitoring. Okay. And then audit design and implementation. This part will be tested by the auditor. Where we are going to test this? Walkthrough test, right? We are going to test this from the walkthrough test at the planning stage. Once you are doing walkthrough, we are checking the design and implementation effectiveness of the controls. Design and implementation effectiveness of the controls. Keep remember that, right? And then we are going to decide our audit approach. Okay. And here walkthrough test answer is rely or not rely. Rely or not rely. walkthrough එක කරාට පස්සේ walkthrough test එක කරනවා එක ස්කොට් එකකට significant class of transaction. So once you are completing your walkthrough test, what's the result is whether it's rely or not rely, right? If it is rely, if it is not rely, are you going to test the operating effectiveness? එක තේරෙනවද ළමයි? ඔයාගේ walkthrough test එකේදී ඔයාට answer එක එනවා not rely. So you are not going to check the operating effectiveness. Why? Your design and implementation not there. You are not rely on that. If it is so, no need to check the operation. Without having design and implementation, we can't expect for the operation. නේද? Design එකයි implementation එකයි නැතුව operation එක බලලා වැඩක් නැහැ. නේද? ඔයා walkthrough එකේදී මේක decide කරනවා. එහෙනම් ඔයා මොකද කරන්නේ? walkthrough test එකේ result එක rely නම් not rely නම් අපි අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම TOC කරන්නේ නැහැ. TOC කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? ඒක මම කිව්වේ නෑනේ. I didn't tell that. What's the TOCs? Operation means we are checking TOC. TOC. Operation and monitoring will be tested in TOC. This area will be tested in TOC. Right? Walkthrough is a must. Walkthrough is a must. TOC is option. TOC is option. Keep remember these things. Very important. TOC is a must. Sorry, walkthrough is a must. TOC is option. Then අපි කියනවා නේද? Audit procedures can be divided into two. What are they? Substantive procedures and TOC. So මෙතන කියනවා TOC is option. We no need to do each and every time we no need to do TOC. It is option that can be selected by the auditor by using the audit approach. But substantive procedures is a must, right? Keep remember that TOC is an option. Test of control is an option, can be used by the auditor based on the audit approach, right? Based on the audit approach. That audit approach will be decided based on what? Will be decided based on the walkthrough test result. After the walkthrough test, right? After the walkthrough test, you are having two different answers. What are they? Rely on control and not rely on control. Not rely on controls, we are not doing TOC. Straight away we are doing what? Substantive procedures, right? Substantive procedure, no TOC. Rely on control. After you are doing walkthrough test, you are very comfortable with the design and implementation. They have designed well, implemented well. Again, we have another question. What is that? Any idea about that? එතකොට rely වුණු සේරම areas. Rely when all the test results, if you are getting rely, are you going to do TOC? That's the question. So අපිට මෙහෙම දාන්න පුළුවන්. TOC plus substantive procedures. This is not correct, right? This is not correct. Why? Rely on control, but some instance you can decide not to do TOC. Rely option, rely sometime with the tactical sense, sometime with this efficiency purpose, effectiveness purpose. We are not doing TOC. We are doing full substantive procedures. And we are doing substantive procedures, only substantive procedures. Which type of scenario? Rely on control, but we are not doing TOC. That's the engagement effectiveness. Engagement practicality. That the number of transactions may be very less. If it is so, no need to worry about these controls. That number of transactions can be counted. If it is so, no need to worry about the TOC. Directly we can do substantive procedures. Basically, why we are doing substantive TOC? To get the support for substantive procedures. Substantive procedures always focus about the account balance and the disclosures, numbers, right? Not the control. To verify these numbers, having understanding about these controls will be very helpful. To get that help, we are doing TOC. If it is practically verified this number of balances, we don't need to do this TOC, right? අපි example එකක් ගත්තොත් කොහොමද? අපි example එකක් ගත්තොත් කොහොමද? Let's say you are auditing this loan and borrowing balance. It's a manufacturing company. You are auditing loan balance. Loan, is that a significant account? Yes, loan balance sheet taking, it's a significant amount. Once you are cross-checking, once you are going through the balance sheet, loan and borrowing balance is a significant account. So you have selected it, you did the walkthrough. Yes, they have a proper process for loan and borrowings. Control rely this walkthrough test, control rely, yes. And question is, rely and control, do we need to do TOC substantive procedures? No need. Why? No need. The reason is, effectively, in a loan transaction, there are only 12 installment. 12 installment can be calculated by using the offer letter or loan agreement. Amortization schedule is there. You can check 12 payment vouchers, payments, and agreement can be tested within half a day. You can finish that by using substantive procedures. Why we are worrying about controls, but rely on control, right? So keep remember that your walkthrough test giving not rely on control, definitely you are going to substantive procedures. Your walkthrough test can give rely on control, but still you may do full substantive approach because of the effectiveness of the engagement procedure. Based on that, you are deciding the audit approach. Audit approach means whether you are going to do only substantive procedures or TOC plus substantive procedures. In other words, rely on controlled approach or full substantive procedures approach. Right. So these are the approaches. These are the two approaches you have to use, whatever the balance you are going to verify, right? Keep remember that. So once you are having exam questions, first you need to understand what is the approach you are using for this balance, fully substantive approach or rely on control approach. Accordingly, you need to decide audit procedures. Keep remember that. එහෙනම් අපි දැන් ඉස්සරහට account balances ගැන කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. Before you are deciding audit procedures to account balance, decide audit approach, please. Right? If you are getting a question in the exam, first decide audit approach for the relevant risk and decide audit procedures. Then you can come up with different audit procedures. That is a lacking area. If you can learn it, definitely you can get the pass mark. If you are mentioning this audit approach and all the things, examiner definitely know that you are in the good thought process, and he or she know about this audit language, audit subject. So you are come up with this audit procedures with audit approach, risk, audit approach, and audit procedures and audit evidence. That's the equation, right? Simple. Risk, audit approach, audit procedures, audit evidence, documentation. This is the flow you have to use, whatever the account balance, whatever the company, right? Maybe insurance company, maybe a bank, maybe a hotel, maybe a manufacturing company. Whatever the manufacturing company, assess the risk, identify the approach, perform the audit procedures, gather audit evidence, document it. That's all about auditing. දැන් ඔයාලට question එක account paper එකේ බලන්න risk එක, decide කරන්න approach එක, decide කරන්න audit procedures ටික, gather කරන්න audit evidence, please document it. Not documented, not done, right? You can't sacrifice documentation for your audit efficiency. Those are the basic proverbs in auditing. Not documented, not done, right? You can't write, you can't document all those things in your memory. It should be document properly, maybe in scan copies or maybe in hard copies. You have to do it, right? Okay, I hope you are clear about the audit approach. I took much time, right? uh, how about that, Nirmal and others? What do you think? Darshanam, Sally, Vasanta, Dias. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir, very clear. Summarized version, very clear.
Okay, okay, good. Very good. So then we can go to the slide deck one by one, account balances we can discuss, right? We can discuss very quickly. I'm not taking too much time. You can study then. Now we have a proper, the main purpose of this exercise is to give guidance and get this guidance and start your work. After having this live session, our plan is to, whatever the here and there you may study, make a අපි බලනවා ඇති, ඒ කියන්නේ inventory බලනවා ඇති, වා receivable බලනවා ඇති, revenue audit procedures වා බලනවා ඇති, maybe uh, receivable, payable, and maybe gratuity balance, many balances in the balance sheet and P&L, right? uh, Different industries, different balances. Audit procedures, can you remember all these audit procedures before you are going to the exam paper? Can't do that. Don't do it, right? Don't do it. Get the overall thought process and have this thought process and get the case study in the exam. Identify all these things, decide audit procedures at that time. For that you should have basic understanding about this audit, basic internal and external procedures, right? That's the understanding you need to get. That's the approach you need to follow, right? Auditing is a vast subject. We can't predict the exam question. Maybe a manufacturing question, maybe insurance. From the insurance ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආවොත්, the insurance ප්‍රශ්න නම් දෙන්නේ නැහැ fortunately, නේද? Insurance balance sheet එකක තියෙන නේද, P&L එකක තියෙන 90% words we can't understand, right? That type of complex. Because of that, insurance may not be tested in the exam. In other industries, definitely highly probable, highly possible, right, in the exam. So no need to, one by one, no need to memorize these steps. The approach should be taken and then freely you can address the exam paper, right? So this slide basically discuss about all this thought process, walk through test, and then test of controls. Based on this, rely on control, not rely on control, risk assessment, control risk, and the risk of material misstatement. So this is the overall thought process. And now we are going to discuss about substantive procedures and audit responses, basically TOC, right? Once you are doing substantive procedures, once you are deciding substantive procedures, right, whatever the balance, අන්න ඒක තමයි හොඳටම ඔයා බලා ගන්න ඕන. ඕනම balance එකකට මෙහෙමයි කරන්න. Inventory, cash, or PP&E, whatever the balance, this is the thought process you need to follow, right? What you have to do? Basically, agreeing with the opening balances. Agree the opening balances. Once you are, then මෙතනට start කරන්න ඕන substantive. Before you are starting substantive procedures, you need to decide whether you have done TOC or you have not done TOC. Whatever the scenario, right? Sometimes you may have completed TOC and now you are going to substantive procedures. Sometimes you have not done TOC, now you are doing substantive procedures. Now I am telling you all, whatever the scenario, how once you are starting substantive procedures, what are the things you need to focus, right? First one you need to do substantive procedures. Always remember that we are focusing about balances, right? Balances first, we need to compare with the opening balances, right? Tally the opening balance. Tally the opening balances with the previous audited accounts. Right? Previous audited accounts. That's very important. Why? Audited numbers should be carry forward for this year. You know that, right? Opening balance verification is a must. එතකොට අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් opening balance verification එකක් we no need to do that. Why? The last year also they have done the audit. Why you are worrying about opening balances? We are responsible for current year-end balances. Now we are focusing only for the year-end balances. We are not focusing about the opening balances because our responsibility is to do the audit opinion for the year-end balances. Can you say that? Can't. Why? Account balance is a continuation of opening balance. If you are not telling the opening balance, if you are having material misstatements in the opening balance, you are ending with the incorrect balance. So you have to ensure that opening balances are tallying with the last year audited accounts. Keep remember that, right? And then you can go through the general ledger account, and is there any unusual transaction, you can analyze it, right? You can do GL analyzer, you can use JE testing, you can check there are any unusual entries, unusual ledger, transaction and ledger balances, right? Ledger balances, there are any suspense accounts, right? Once you are getting some liability accounts, you can see that some debit balances are there. That is very unusual, right? Once I am reviewing some insurance balances, insurance receivables, some credit balances are there. What is that? That is excess received from customers. Sometimes it is advance payment given by the customers. It is a liability. So those things should be identified. Before we are doing audit procedures, we can go through that, right? And agreeing client schedules from accounting records to ensure completeness. The secondly, what we have to do, we have to get the GL, go through that, and to GL we need to get the breakup and tally with the breakup and the GL, tally with the breakup and the schedule, and check whether it is tallying or not, right? Whatever the balance, maybe inventory balance, maybe debtor portfolio, maybe FD portfolio, maybe revenue, right? All the revenue numbers, invoices during the period, we can generate a system report. That report number should be tallied with the revenue in the GL account. That GL account should be tallied with the schedule, right? Identify any differences. If it is so, it need to be fixed. And then we have a account balance, opening balance tallying, and we have the this year balance. We have a separate schedule for that. Now we are ready to audit, right? We are ready to audit. Then what we have to do? We can do some analytical reviews, compare with the last year, compare with the high value items, and sometimes you can do geographical area wise allocation, as well as you can identify some monthly fluctuations, right? Likewise, you can do some analytics based on the industry, based on the balance nature, right? And then select a sample. Samples also can be selected based on different techniques, maybe random basis. You can put stratification, right? Stratification. Study කරලා බලන්න ඕන. What do you mean by stratification, right? And haphazard sampling and random sampling, monitor unit sampling, right? Different sampling techniques. You can put these things. Hammer technique එක මේකට දාන්න එපා. The sampling technique should be selected based on the risk. That is your judgment, right? That is your judgment. Based on the sampling technique, select the sample and request these transaction details and verify the balance. That sample should represent the population. Sampling gap should be reduced. And then you are comfortable with the balance, right? you are comfortable with the balance. You have to, it means that test of details. Payments නම් මොකද කරන්නේ? Payments නම් අපි you have to get this payment vouchers, maybe water bill, maybe data, maybe connectivity related bill, right? Data related, the telephone bill. And for 12 months, you can check the bill, right? Test of details. And now you verify the balance. Now you verified the balance. Next step, what is that? What's the next step? Next step is verified balance should be disclosed properly. Verified balance should be disclosed properly according to the accounting standards, right? That should be cross-checked with the trial balance, and accounts and disclosure should be done according to the accounting standards. So this is the thought process you should follow once you are doing substantive procedures. Keep remember that. එහෙනම් දැන් exam එකට ගිහිල්ලා මොන balance එකක් ආවත් මේ ටික තමයි ඔයාලට කරන්න වෙන්නේ. So these are the basic steps. Basic, what do you call that? These are actually not, these are not, we can't say that these are the specific substantive procedures, right? These are not specific substantive procedures, right? These are the common substantive approach we have to use once you are deciding substantive procedures. Keep remember that. I am recalling them. පාඩම් කරගන්න දෙයක් නෑ. What you have to think? Firstly, we need to check with the audited accounts last year. So you may ask a question, if it is initial company, initiated, incorporated this year, if it is so, we don't have opening balance, right? So skip that. If you have opening audited balance, tally with that opening balance and get the account balance break up and cross check with the account balance and the schedule. Identify any differences, select a sample, right? And ask details, check the test of total detail about the balance and verify it. Is there any exceptions? Ask, you can expand the sample and ask some more items, verify that, and keep remember that, right? Once you are doing sample testing, if there is a difference, you need to forecast, extrapolate to the population, right? Let's say you are having 50,000 items. From 50,000 items, you have selected 100 sample. From 100 sample, there's a deviation, maybe 5 items. Amount may be 250,000. 250,000 may be very small balance. If it is so, what you are going to do? You can say that 250,000 is immaterial. You are going to stop that. That is not the way. What you have to do? Keep remember that from 5,000, you selected only 100 items. From 100, you are having deviation 5 items. You need to, for 105, for 5,000, how much? You need to translate, you need to forecast to the population and identify the difference. Calculate the materiality according to the sample result, right? Don't focus about only the sample difference. You need to forecast, you need to change, you need to update that difference according to the population. To the population, you need to calculate the deviation material misstatement. According to you need to decide your conclusion, right? Keep remember that. And then get the final balance and check with the disclosure requirement, disclose in the financial statement. Whatever the balance, you need to follow this. එහෙනම් ඔයාට exam එකේ inventory check කරත්, related party check කරත්, maybe revenue or PP&E or guarantee or warranty or gratuity, whatever the balance, PP&E, this is the approach you need to follow. By using this basic, you can specifically say that these are the procedures, right? Then once you are doing these things, you can discover errors and omissions, right? Right? And once you are doing this substantive procedures, basically you can do analytical procedures, test of details. Keep remember that. Analytical procedures and test of details. Analytical procedures, commonly we are having analytical procedures, some industry information related analytics, gross margin related analytics, and some budgeted numbers versus analysis, right? There are many types of analysis are there, right? Once you are doing analysis, keep remember that you should have expectation and analyze it and check the variance and identify the balance. If you are okay with the expectation, no need to do test of details. As auditor, ARP and TOD, we are focusing about detailed testing, right? Detailed testing means according to the high risk items, we are performing test of details, right? Test of details. Test of details mean we are checking the source documents basically. Maybe for payments, you are checking the vouchers, right? For sales, you are checking the invoices. Maybe three-way matching, right? Evidence. If you are purchasing a land, you are checking these payments and the land deed as well as some lawyer confirmations. All these can stamp duty payments, right? All these can be tested. Those are the test of details, right? Analytical procedures mean you are doing independent analytics by using expectations. You are checking the reasonability according to your calculation, right? So strong evidence we can get from test of details. Keep remember that. Okay, now we are moving to balances, right? Balances. Mama, non-current assets. That is straightforward. I'm not going to discuss much about that, right? Maybe, yeah. Basically, first we need to understand the balance and decide the audit approach and decide the substantive procedures. Whatever the balance, that's the way you need to discuss. Tangible non-current assets. What are the examples? PP&E, investment property. Maybe what else? Investment property, PP&E, and WIP. We may have non-current assets, right? Tangible. What we need to do? First decide whether you are going to do TOC. That based on what? Walkthrough test and practicality. ඔයාට තියෙනවා නේද building එකක් ලොකු. building එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒකේ අපි building එකට අපි TOC කරනවද? No need to do TOC. Why? Building is there. There's no transaction during the period. Only depreciation and all these things. Because of that, we are not doing TOC. Right? Let's say you are having a manufacturing company, maybe a garment or some, food manufacturing company. You are having many machines in the organizations, right? During the period, during a 1 month, you are purchasing 2-3 machines, right? You are disposing some of the machines, and whatever the machines you are having capital nature expenses, right? Daily, 24/7, you are working with machines, right? If it is so, there are many, repair cost, sometimes run cost and the capitalized cost, right? Because of that, you are focusing about a test of controls. You are really difficult to check transaction at the end if you are not relying on control, right? So if you are dealing with large scale PPE balance in a manufacturing company, you may rely on controls. And then we are moving to substantive procedures, right? Whatever the capital payment, there should be approval process, capex and other expense identification, right? The TOC, company to company, may be different, right? And then whatever the approval should be there for capital nature expense, and capex identification should be there. And then once you are getting this capital nature items, at the point of receiving, the quality should be tested, right? And once you are at the point of available for use, it should be capitalized. That control should be checked, right? And this depreciation calculation can be done independently. So we can check who are the people doing it and who are the people approving it. All this process can be checked, right? After checking the process, if you are comfortable with the process, you can do substantive procedures. Substantive procedures. What are substantive procedures you can do? If it is a tangible things, you can do physical count, physical observation. Whatever the tangible thing, keep remember that you can do physical verification. Neither. What a tangible දේවල් අපිට balance sheet එකේ හම්බෙන්නේ මොනවද? Non, the PP&E, non-current assets, right? Inventory or cash, whatever the tangible things you can count. What cash count hamba inventory count hamba PP&E, property, plant and equipment count hamba. So you are having physical observation for tangible things. So whatever the question you are getting in the exam, what you have to do? Physical verification is a substantive procedure. Not only that, biological asset. Let's say you are doing audit for a coconut plantation. What we have to do? So number of coconut plants, matured plant, you need to count it. You have to physically verify if it is tangible and countable, right? Keep remember that. No need to memorize all these things. Based on the understanding, you have to give audit procedures, right? And then reconciliation. Reconciliation about what? You can do different reconciliation. You can do last year to this year reconciliation, last month to this month reconciliation, maybe GL to schedule reconciliation. Different reconciliation can be done, right? Sub-ledger to main ledger reconciliation. Different reconciliation can be done. And then depreciation calculation, you can independently calculate. You can check source documents, maybe for asset purchases, maybe for disposals, right? You can check source documents. And insurance coverage can be tested, especially if you are having a borrowing cost as per 𝐿-case 23, if it is a qualifying asset. Qualifying asset. What do you mean by qualifying asset? Qualifying asset එකක් කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? If you are getting substantial period of time to sell or use that asset, or renting purpose, if you are using that asset, if you are getting substantial period of time, we can call as qualifying asset. Qualifying asset, right? For qualifying asset, definitely we can capitalize borrowing cost. If you are getting borrowing cost, definitely this borrowing cost, specialized borrowing cost, average borrowing cost should be calculate whatever the rate, right? Borrowing cost rate should be calculate and need to capitalize to the asset, right? That capitalization should be ceased, should be stopped at the point of usage. Keep in mind that's the standard, right? If you are dealing with such kind of thing, definitely focus about this capitalization, right? And if you are using fair valuation of this non-current asset, maybe land valuation, land revaluation, this related disclosure should be done in the financial statement, right? So whatever the non-current asset, එතකොට දැන් exam එකට මොන non current asset එක ආවත් this is the way you need to decide. This is the approach you need to follow, right? And then intangible asset. Intangible asset you can't do physical verification. එහෙම ලියු ගමන් ඔයාට නේද? ඔයා ඔඩිට් දන්නෙත් නැහැ, සෙන්ස් එකක් නැහැ කියලා හිතෙනවා. එතකොට intangible asset වලට physical verification of intangible asset කියලා ලියපු ගමන් ඔයා exam fail. Right? I hope that is clear. I'm not going to discuss steps in intangible asset, right? It depends on your audit approach, and accordingly you can decide your audit procedures, right? We can move to inventory. Inventory, it is a complex area, right? Inventory, but it depends on the industry, right? So if you are discussing inventory in a bank එකක inventory තියනවද? Leasing company එකක inventory තියනවද? තියෙන්න පුළුවන් නේද? With compared to other balances, that inventory balance will be very low, very immaterial balance. What are the things in the inventory? Sometimes maybe A4 papers or some the leaflet or some gift items. All these things very immaterial. So in a bank, inventory may be not a significant balance, right? That industry specific. If it is a manufacturing company, it may be manufacturing company, or let's say it is a supermarket like maybe Kiehl's, Apico, or something like Glowmark or something like that. So how about the inventory? So you may have different inventory items as at a date, right? Your inventory composition will be vary according to the nature of the industry. Check that in the exam question, whether it's a manufacturing company, it's a retail company, or sometimes it may be buying and selling company. So wholesaler or retailer, check the nature of the business and identify the nature of the inventory and decide your audit approach and give your audit responses. So you may have material, work in progress, and finished goods in your inventory. That's basic understanding, right? So what's your expectation then? Whatever the inventory item you do have, you need to ensure these accessions, right? Accessions given by the management, right? Accession given by the management. Keep remember that. Okay. Normally inventory, once you are having balance in the balance sheet, statement of financial position, that balance consists with two elements. What is that? Quantity and the value. Quantity and the value. That's very important. Quantity and the value. Quantity into value. So number of item into value. Number of item we need to verify. The valuation need to be verified. As auditor, two things need to be verified. And then you have to ensure that that has been disclosed according to 𝐿-case 2. Now the auditor විදියට ඕනම company එකක inventory මොනවද verify කරන්න ඕන කියලා අහුවොත් මොකද්ද හිතන්න තියෙන්නේ? Number of items should be ensured and the value should be correct, and multiply that and get the value. As auditor, we need to get comfort about this. Then you are okay with the inventory balance, whatever the organization. Then ඔයා exam එකට ගිහිල්ලා inventory procedures කටපාඩම් කරගෙන යනවද? නැහැ. කොහොමද අපි මතක් කරගන්නේ? As auditor, this is a manufacturing company. This is including material, raw material, and finished goods. What we are going to do? We need to ensure the quantity and the value. To that, we need to suggest some procedures that is called gathering audit evidence, right? So what are the once you are focusing about the value, what we need to focus as per case 2, what we need to disclose in the financial statement. මොකක්ද කියන්නේ case 2 වල? Cost and NRV, whichever is lower, should be disclosed in your financial statement, right? Cost and NRV, whichever is lower. මෙන්න මේ and කියන එක මාර important, right? මේ and කියන එක මාර important. I hope you are okay about this and. Not cost O NRV, right? Not cost O NRV. It is cost and NRV, whichever is lower. These are two different concepts, right? Two different concepts. Maybe cost O NRV, whichever is lower, cost and NRV, whichever is lower. Maybe two different numbers having millions of differences, right? You need to know that the understanding of cost and NRV, whichever is lower.
Sir, excuse me.
Definition cost, not cost or NRV. Keep remember that. ඒක වාට තේරෙනවා කියලා හිතනවා මම. හොඳටම
Sir,
දන්නවා
excuse me.
කියලා.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sir, do we need to keep any margin in our answer related to the inventory provision? And inventory provision is always related to each and every business?
Yes. Inventory provision. It depends on whatever the whatever the asset, right? Whatever the asset you are recognizing in the balance sheet, right? If it is not recoverable, if there's a doubt, right? We need to make a provision. We need to make a provision, right? We need to make a provision, whether it's debtor or whether it's sometimes it may be receivable, or sometimes if it is a PP&E, are you going to do provision? No, we have to do impairment provision, right? Whatever the asset, if you are having a doubt, you have to make a provision, right? So let's say you are keeping inventory, definitely you need to test, you have to get the inventory aging and check whether is there are any outdated balances, right? Outdated balances according to your expired date, right? And if there are any expired items, make a write-off. And if there are material items very recent to the expired dates, make a provision, right? Once you are doing this NRV, net realizable value testing, right? Net realizable value testing. If we are having most of the items, net realizable value is less than the cost, right? Less than the cost. It is creating indication that possible provision. ඇයි එහෙම කියන්නේ මම? සාමාන්‍යයෙන් cost එකද net realizable value එකද වැඩි? Normally cost is less than net realizable value. Why? We are in a profit making company. Are we buying any item? At least we can't sell it out to at least that price. So we need to have a profitable business, right? If it is so, always, not always word incorrect, right? Most of the cases, cost is less than the NRV. Why? We are having profit expectation. We are taking profit, oriented business. Because of that, whatever the items we purchase, we can sell it out at least to the cost, not less than that. So but you have to do this testing. What I am telling is, in the inventory, majority of the items less than NRV, less than the cost. NRV is less than the cost. If it is so, you have a doubt about your sellability, the possibility of selling, right, the item. If you are having a doubt, definitely you have to do a provision for that. That provision, inventory provision audit procedures may be different with the inventory audit procedures, right? Inventory provision is another balance. Inventory is another balance, right? In the balance sheet, you have to show inventory asset and deduct inventory provision and get the net value. So you have to do different procedures for inventory provision. Inventory provision is estimate, right? So you have to do different audit procedures for inventory provision. Yes, correct. You have to do separate procedures. මම ආන්සර් එක දුන්නද නැද්ද? තව කියලා දෙන්න ඕනද? Anything?
Yes, sir, you have given. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Only thing is, check the case study. Is there any doubt about? එතකොට examiner කියන්න ඕන. මොන හරි indication එකක් දෙනවා to do the inventory provisioning. They are telling that majority of the items, there are many reject sales, right? Return sales. Some of the items, technically they are outdated. Some of the items purchase very, uh, overdue purchase, maybe long outstanding balances in the inventory. That depends on the nature of the inventory, right? ඔයා count කරන්නේ liquor කියලා හිතන්න එපා නේද? ඔයා count කරන්නේ liquor නම් නේද? පරණ වෙන්න වෙන්න value එක වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට value එක වැඩි වෙන්නේ මේ that is not affecting to the balance, right? Maybe gold stock එකක් නේද? gold නම් ඔයා බලන්න. gold වල expire වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේද? So you need to focus that. So what's the inventory item you are focusing? අපි hotel එකේ inventory measure කරන්න යනවා නන්නේ. hotel audit කරලා තියෙනවා නම් මේ නේද? It's really difficult, right? කොහොමද? සමහර දැන් as at the date inventory hotel වල කියන්නේ එක bottle එක maybe 250,000 එක bottle එක 250,000. Some of the bottles they have already consumed, right? They have taken two shots. That bottle may be remaining with some 8 shots. We need to calculate that, right? We need to calculate as at the reporting date. So it is material, right? Consumed. අපිට ගන්නම බැරි liquor stock එක මොකක්ද අමාරුම. The half used bottle at a hotel, that's a risky area. If you are getting a hotel question, if you are having inventory balance, liquor half used bottles are the risky area, right? So other area is what? Minibar consumption and the inventory. Minibar කියන එක දන්නව ඇති. In the hotel room you are having a small bar, right? So that inventory also should be in the hotel company inventory, right? So as at the date, assume that this is in the peak time. 100% occupancy is there. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? හැම room එකේම guest ලා ඉන්නවා. එතකොට අපි හැම mini bar එකම full කරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට mini bar වල තියෙන inventory material the company ට that is material. So can you check that as at the reporting date how much of the items they consumed? Can you check that? Each and every room you have to go there and check the today we are doing a stock count. Can we get you a mini bar and check? Can you do that? That is the risky area to estimate. If we are having 1,500 rooms, maybe not in Sri Lanka, right? Maybe in other country, 1,500 room, 100% occupancy, 1,500 mini bars. How we are going to calculate the as at the reporting date inventory? That is a risky area. That's the area you have to decide on procedures. The inventory is that much of complicated, right? Keep remember that, right? We'll discuss all those things. I hope you are getting me. Okay then.
Okay, sir. Seriously.
Okay, right. So I'm not going to discuss this NRV and cost and NRV and cost ONRV, right? ඒක මම next මේ live session එකේදී explain කරන්නම් මේ මොනවාද calculation එකක් කරන විදිය cost NNRV cost ONRV. So that is not for auditing, for your accounting knowledge, right? I hope you are comfortable, but the students who are not having that much of understanding, so we'll let you know. So here we are having different inventory items, right? So these are the areas, maybe very different. Inventory count, inventory observation is a common procedures for inventory. But inventory, the way you are doing inventory count is different to the industry, item to item, right? The way we are counting liquor, that can't be used for this firecracker manufacturing company or petroleum company, oil and gas company, or the sanitizer manufacturing company, right? Different. So here we have a feed meal manufacturing company, right? Very different. Sometimes the stock count in this type of a poultry farming. The poultry farming කන්නේමයි මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? As at the date තියෙන්නේ මොනවද? ඒක තියෙන්නේ biological asset inventory එකක් නේද? ඒකේ ඉන්නේ birds ලා නේද? කල් මොනවද? boiler bird ලා ඉන්න පුළුවන්, parent bird ලා ඉන්න පුළුවන්, chicks ලා ඉන්න පුළුවන් නේද? එතකොට ඒව count කරන්න ගියාම මොකද කරන්නේ අපි? birds ලා count කරන්න ගියාම මේ bird count කරනකොට ඉගිලිලා යනවා birds ලා නේද? count කරන්න බෑ. මේකෙන් count කරාට පස්සේ පියාඹනවා birds ලා. Very difficult to count, right? So as auditor, what we have to do then? We need to do alternative procedures, right? What we have to do is, once we are going for this type of a poultry counting, right? Poultry industry counting, one cage we need to count. So once we are counting one cage, how we have to going to count? Bird la color කරන්න ඕන. Bird la color කරනවා එයා count කරා කියලා. You are putting a paint to one bird, and you are putting another, if you are counting two birds, you are putting a paint. That's why we are having this bird, type of a pink, like කුකුල්සායන් කියලා තියෙන්නේ නේද? කුකුල්සායන් කියලා අහලා තියෙනවා. ඒවා තියෙන්නේ මොකටද? එහෙම ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ නම. So we are using that to counting birds. So we need to count that cage and number of birds in that cage, number of cages, we can get the final number as at the reporting date. Likewise, inventory counting, the inventory observation, the name is common for inventory, but the way you are doing is totally different to the hardware to manufacturing company to something, retail company to wholesale company. Keep remember that. Okay. So whatever the questions you are having, remember that these are the procedures you need to follow, right? As you all mentioned, here we have inventory provision. See, provision for slow-moving machinery spaces, slow-moving items, right? Inventory. And here we have this TOC and substantive procedures. Okay, TOC and substantive procedures. And first decide. Normally, if you are dealing with a manufacturing company, always we need to use TOC and substantive procedures approach for inventory. That's the normal mechanism. Normally, we are using reliance control approach. Why? During the period, we may have many transactions relating to inventory, right? Because of that, we are using which approach? Reliance control approach for inventory balance. It means we complete TOC and we are moving to substantive procedures, right? Substantive procedures. Here we have a list of substantive procedures here, and I'm not going to discuss each and every one. So basically, you should, have practical understanding. So here we are having physical observation, reconciliation, NRV testing. Reconciliation mean what? Reconciliation mean inventory sub-ledger to main ledger, and inventory system to physical verified sheets, right? And inventory roll forward working and roll back working. What do you mean by roll forward and roll back working? එහෙම අයිඩියා එකක් තියෙනවද? දැන් මේක ලයිව් සෙෂන් එකේ ඉන්නකොට පොඩි නෝට් එකකුත් දාගන්න නේ. What do you mean by roll forward, roll back working? Normally, once you are a real auditor for inventory balance in organization as at the reporting date. It means 31st December or 31st March. As at exact date, we can't get the practical the inventory. Why? Because of these operational difficulties, sometimes practical difficulties are there. Sometimes at that period, we can't go there. Many reasons are there. Because of that, your reporting date may be vary with the inventory count date. Maybe inventory stock count ගන්නවා last 2 weeks of the year, right? Last 2 weeks of the year. So if you are having inventory count, maybe before the year end, 10 days before the year end, or after the 10 days, what we have to do? You took the inventory balance before the year end, 10 days before the year end. What we have to do?
We need to roll forward.
Roll forward, exactly correct. Roll forward mean we yeah. Tell me, yeah. Yes.
We need to adjust the inventory balance that we have physically verified
Yes.
with the year end.
Exactly.
With the transaction happening after the inventory taken date.
Correct. Transaction means sales and purchases or returns, right? All these things should be adjusted. Let's say you did the stock count before the year end. It means whatever the inventory balance you counted should be added purchases, right? Should be added purchases, and sales should be removed and calculate the year end balance. එතකොට ඔඩිටර් විදියට ඔයා මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕන? ඔඩිටර් විදියට ඔයා මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕන? ඔයා ඉන්වෙන්ටරි කවුන්ට් එක විතරක් බලලා හරියනවද? No. You need to, this 10 days adjustment may be material, right? 10 days adjustment may be material. So as auditor, what we have to do? You have to participate for the inventory verification and ensure that count is correct, right? And then get the count and tally with the GL as at the inventory counted date, right? And then get the roll forward working from the management. Roll forward working should be included what? Counted number, sales, return, purchases, and get that balances and check the sample testing and arrive to the year-end balance, check with the GL. That's the procedure you need to follow if we are having roll forward and roll back. අපි roll forward කියලා හිතන්නකො. ඒ කියන්නේ 31st December count එක අපි ගන්න කවදටද? Maybe 10th January. Then what you have to do? Roll back. දැන් අපි 10th නම් ගත්තේ purchases මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕන? කලින් purchases add කරා. දැන් මොකද කරන්න purchases? We need to deduct, right? Purchases deduct කරලා sales මොකද කරන්න within this 10 days period? We need to add and calculate that and verify that sheet. Roll forward sheet and roll back sheet should be verified and ensure. That is a very specific procedure for inventory. Another thing is flow to sheet. Once you are checking this physical observation, remember that you need to do flow to sheet, sheet to flow testing. What do you mean by that? Flow to sheet, sheet to flow testing? Okay, list. Yeah, Nirmal, let's tell me.
Inventory sheet එකේ තියෙනවා flow එකේ
Yes.
තියෙනවද කියලා බලන්නත් ඕනේ. flow එකේ මේ physically තියෙන ටික inventory sheet එකේ තියෙනවද කියලාත් බලන්න ඕනේ.
Annahari. So that always focus about the completeness, right? Inventory sheet definitely will be given by the management, maybe system report or maybe a GL report or kind of a schedule, right? Once you are going to the stock verification, you are keeping this and you have this report on your hand, right? Report on your hand. And then what's the approach? You are having a list. You are checking that list to the flow. Check that numbers or maybe code number or inventory item code. You can check with the inventory. right? And you have a doubt that, right? You can see that all the items are here. Some items in the flow, you need to check the sheet as well. Sometimes there may be items in the flow, it's not been included to the sheet, right? So if there are some items like that, there should be a reason, right? ඒක එතකොට මොකක්ද වෙලා තියෙන්න පුළුවන්? ඒ ටික විකුණලා විකනපු කෙනා they have not taken out, and till the delivery they are keeping that in the warehouse. If it is so such kind of a nature, we can skip it. Otherwise, that is a risk, right? That is a risk. Once you are doing inventory verification, there are many mistakes. නේද? මේ පැත්තේ inventory ටික පෙන්නලා lunch එක ගිහින් එනකොට ඒ inventory ටික එහා පැත්තෙන් ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා. නේද? වෙන item ඒ කියන්නේ අපි දැන් අපිට පුළුවන් අපි ගිහිල්ලා මොනවා හරි දන්න items නම් count කරන්න පුළුවන්. Sometimes for your inventory verification, experts should be participated. Otherwise, you can't do it. Some chemicals. If you are, let's say, if you are doing a some maybe perfume manufacturing company, that fragrance or some chemicals you are using for that item may be very technical. Sometimes you are doing inventory verification for maybe drugs manufacturing company. Drugs mean maybe medicine, right? So to prepare that tablet, they are using different ingredients. These ingredients are very technical, right? So you don't have, as an accountant, do you have that understanding? So definitely we have to get the doctor support for not only the normal doctor. So then a doctor who are having super understanding about medicine manufacturing should be participate for that inventory verification. So that extent you need to expand your knowledge once you are reading this thing. Don't memorize these steps and have a wide mindset before you are going to the exam. And then and there, you can easily answer to the exam questions practically. So the exam expectation, I always know that. So I'm always discussing with these teams who are preparing papers. I'm having that connections. I know that the expectation is always the practical sense, and relate that to the standard requirement, and give a proper smart answer relevant to the case study. That's the requirement, right? So focus that and always try to be practical and give a complete answer. If you are putting here and there some points and putting answer may not be viable. So if there's a question, so start from the approach, and if you are suggesting TOC, mention some TOC steps and decide that substantive procedures to verify the balance and verify the quantity and verify the valuation, verify the basically the accuracy of the disclosure, and as well as completeness of the balance. Likewise, you have to decide your approach of the question, right? So that's about substantive procedures and the audit approach for the inventory. So I have mentioned here some of the detailed procedures linked with the this accession, right? Here not existence. Here not existence. It is should be accession, right? Accession. Here this is the approach for audit this inventory verification. So I can recall my memory. So once you are having this COVID period, right? COVID period, we did some inventory verification virtually, right? Doing inventory verification virtually is different with the physical verification, right? Virtually mean they are arranging these video facilities. They are doing the in-stock verification. We are checking that, right? So we are giving separate instruction for that as well. If you are doing virtual inventory verification, auditor should focus different aspects. මොකක්ද එතකොට තියෙන risk එක? What are the risks you are involving in virtual inventory verification?
They might be showing the same inventories that we have already counted.
Exactly. So
We have
they can play
conducted-
around that, no? So what they have to do is they have to turn the camera and they can replace the inventory, right?
Yeah, we are also picking the inventories based on the values and the significance.
Yeah.
And they know that fact. These are the things that the auditors are doing.
Yes.
And we have conducted, I can remember, we have conducted through WhatsApp video call.
Yes. Okay. Definitely, yes. Very good, very good. Yeah. That's really difficult scenario. What we need to do is we need to communicate required protocols. At least we need to have 3 cameras. These 3 cameras, like, once you are doing, virtual exam, maybe CA doing some virtual exams, we have a separate supervisor, right? This camera should be on each and every time. Likewise, once you are doing inventory verification, we also fix that controls. We need to request that to them. First, they need to show. Initially, they need to show the places, the inventory they are having, right? Places, we need to have a flow round first. And then they need to open 3 cameras. These 3 cameras can't be switch off, right? Switch off. And CCTV access can be taken to us. So CCTV access will be monitored separately. Likewise, we can request different, controls. After that, we can do the virtual verification as well. Likewise, sometimes virtual verification can be arranged. Maybe overseas warehouses. You are having overseas warehouses. Maybe visiting that warehouse and doing a verification may be very costly. What you are going to do? Suggesting a virtual count. If you are arranging virtual count, what are the controls you are going to put in? එතකොට exam එකේ ඔහොම හරිද? නෑ ඔච්චර අමාරු කරන්නේ නෑ exam එකේ. We may have this type of practical issues, right? To think that and go to the exam with having this practical understanding, then you can write a good answer, right? So that's the purpose of having this virtual session with you. I'm giving insights and opening your mind to different sectors, and then come up with a very practical procedures and solutions, and you can easily answer to the question, right? Likewise, I am planning to do with some practical uh, questions and practical balances procedures with you all, different balances. I'm planning to discuss receivables as well as cash, cash and cash equivalent, and payables, right? Revenue, especially revenue. I want to discuss with you all what are the procedures you need to do. 5-step model, right? Revenue recognition. Always revenue recognition is a default risk. What are the procedures you can decide, right? Revenue, and other than that, this salary, remuneration, employee salary related procedures, right? Those are the things I'm planning to discuss with you all in other live classes. Again, next week, definitely we are meeting with another live class. I'm planning to discuss rest of the key tasks. And I want to show you all these past papers where we are addressing this question. You can go to past papers. I'll quickly go to the past paper and show you all. Give me a second. Can go to see 2025. We have June paper, right? Last paper discussion, we had this multiple choice question discussion. At that date, actually, I was having connectivity issue badly because there was a that was a rainy day actually. So I was trying to connect, and my fiber, connection also got uh, stuck. So last actually live session was that not that much effective because of this connectivity issue. But today, quite okay. So likewise, I'm continuously touching with you all till the exam because auditing is a practical exam, right? We need to have this dialogue. So sometimes corporate reporting or finance, accounting papers, you can practice, you can write and practice and you can go to the exam without having this type of dialogue. But auditing papers or instruction with the discussions, practical, questions, having insights may be very valuable to the exam because the auditing paper will be prepared by practical, auditor, right? So they may put some practical case studies. Your full paper is a case study type paper. So including these multiple choice questions, right? Multiple choice questions also getting very limited multiple choice questions are very theoretical and asking the exact answer. Otherwise, multiple choice questions also come up with a case study, right? ABC company. So because of that, all the whole paper, 95% of the paper, very practical, right? Practical sense will be tested. Because of that, having the theory and think around the practical sense, then and there you can get the highest marks. Keep remember that, right? So here we have the latest paper. Latest paper. Uh, so I hope that you are comfortable with this multiple choice question area. So do practice, and if you are having questions, ask from me. Right? I can explain that the exact answer. Sometimes three answers, all four answers are correct. Right? We need to assume that the what auditor think, so what examiner think, and what's the appropriate answer for this, most appropriate answer for the scenario, right? And decide the choice. And so, to address this gathering audit evidence, what is the area you are exactly going here? As I said, you have to go to section 3. Section 3, this one, right? Section 3, first question, maybe question 6, right? Question 6. Question 6. First two questions, always asking about what? Asking about audit risk and the substantive procedures. Audit risk and the substantive procedures, right? Focus this question and you may be given minimum 15, 12 marks. Here 12 marks, right? Here 12 marks. So after having this overall procedure understanding, this is the two questions you can straight away answer, right? I'm always telling to students, you can get marks easily for these 12 marks. Why? You know the audit procedures, you know the risk, and have come up with a proper answer, right? Identify the risk areas. So check this question and each and every exam paper. These two questions very similar, right? What are they asking? Assess for risk of material misstatement to focus on during the audit of neon. Assess for risk of material misstatement. What are the risky areas? Assess and discuss what is the risky area, what is the type of risk, what's the reason, right? Assess, that's it. 4 areas, 8 marks. And describe 4 substantive procedures, audit procedures you plan, perform, test, estimate related to the recognition of goodwill on acquisition of Radian. So once you are having acquisition, the goodwill calculation is a area we need to focus is estimate. What are the procedures you need to do? අපි අද ඉන්වෙන්ටරි විතරයි කතා කරේ. goodwill ගැන කතා කරාම දැන්ටමත් ඔයාලට කියන්න පුළුවන් what are the procedures? Is the calculation, is the estimate? What are the procedures you need to do? Can easily describe that, right? So this is the question you need to focus very carefully. We'll discuss this type of question, and I'm planning to do with you all how to approach that. My request, my advice is, if you can do type of a table for this question, for this maybe this first question, if you can give type of a table, right? Risk of material misstatement to focus on during the audit. Risk of material misstatement. You can say that what is the risk, right? Risk description, risk level, and risk type, right? You have to give this type of thing. Risk type, risk level, risk description. If you are given this type of a table, you have earned full marks, and very easily you can earn marks, right? Risk mean what's the exact risk? Maybe impairment. Let's quickly check this. What is this company? You are an experienced audit manager. Your firm has been an auditor for Neon Private Limited 5 years. During the initial meeting with manager to plan the audit, year-end, this and that, gather following information. Okay. Neon is a large manufacturing company that operates in Sri Lanka, and products are made available in export market. Neon recorded a total revenue of 90 billion for the year ended this and that. That was March 2025, right? Okay. Neon recently acquired a subsidiary, this and that, right? Okay. Subsidiary acquire Karana, definitely they are having goodwill calculation, is estimate. We need to focus that, right? During the year, Neon experienced rapid growth with revenue increased 25% as a result of securing new contracts with customers in Neon market. However, during the year, cost also increased by 15%. Right. Okay. Right. During the year 31st March 2025, Neon implemented a new ERP system and encountered several issues with the implementation. This led to errors in inventory and the sales data. On the right. So inventory and the sales data because of ERP implementation. It's a risk, right? It's a risk. Risk, inventory, valuation, inventory valuation, and the count. It's a risk, right? Risk type. What's the risk type? It's a which kind of a risk? It is a, here we have a control risk. Control risk. It is not inherent risk. We have a control weakness. Why? What is the control weakness we having? See, system and encounter several issues in the implementation. This lead to errors in inventory and sales data. System itself we are having issue, right? It's a control risk. Control risk. Risk level, accession level, and risk description. Describe the risk. Why is that a risk and how it impact to the balances, and that's based on your explanation. Likewise, if you can give type of explanation like this, so that will be very meaningful. You can cover many areas like this. Right? This is the approach you need to use for this type of a question. Then you can earn full 8 marks. Full 8 marks. So that's the small example I wanted to do, right? I hope that it is clear. It is clear. So we'll discuss, and sometime I can write some answers and I can give you all. If you can share whatever the answers, if you can write, you can share with me. So I will ask from this online Nakura to prepare some WhatsApp group before the till the exam. You can communicate with me and you can ask questions. That kind of support can be given. So I'm planning to do practical substandard procedures for different areas, as I said, revenue and receivable, as well as liability balances, as especially estimate, right? In the exam, estimates will be tested definitely. Different estimate, right? So how we are going to audit estimates and how we are going to focus, that will be discussed in the live class. So hope your participation. Tell to your friends, this is free of charge. You can join with the live sessions. Ask them to join. So our expectation is to help each and every student to get through this exam before the syllabus change. That is the exercise we are doing here. So you can get maximum marks if you are practical and you are having super knowledge, proper knowledge about these theoretical aspects, as well as plus you have to have proper writing ability. Keep remember that you need to write and practice. Then අපිට past papers auditing subject එකේදී බලලා බැහැ past papers. බලලා බැහැ කියන්නේ paper එක කියවගෙන ගිහිල්ලා බෑ. අපි සමහර වෙලාවට මේ paper එක බලලා යනවා නෑ. අපි auditing මොකද කරන්න තියෙන්න ඕන? So you have to practice and you have to write papers and practice audit buzzwords, and this audit jargon should be in the paper. Otherwise, you can't score marks. You can't use, general language to audit paper. It is a written, the writing paper. Definitely, your writing practice is a very crucial once you are writing audit paper, right? So this risk of material misstatements and appropriateness and whatever the controlled perspectives, you need to focus about audit buzzwords and come up with answers. I always telling that CA Sri Lanka given this audit glossary terms, right? Read that as well. Glossary terms including all the words related to auditing, and use these words once you are writing an answer. Practice answering, and then you can earn very easily. You can pass the paper and you can go to a prize, or you can earn more than 75 marks if you are practical and you are focused about the theoretical aspect and the writing skills. So then that's my message. I hope that you had a good session today. So I'm not going to do further. I will meet up with the practical session next week, the same time, right? Come up with questions, then we can discuss. For today, do you have any questions about the exam, about our plan? So you can ask. Then you can today we can wind up the session.
So is that any possibility for you to if we put our answers, if we write and put our answers,
Yeah.
පොඩක් correct කරලා දෙන්න වගේ පුළුවන් වේද?
Can do. So for that, what we can do is we'll arrange a WhatsApp group, right? So WhatsApp group, and definitely through that WhatsApp group, you can contact directly me. No need to put that answer to the WhatsApp group. After having that WhatsApp group, you can write to me through WhatsApp separately. Once you are having separate answer script, then I can mark these answers and I can directly reply to you all. If you have common questions, definitely will reach out in the WhatsApp group, so it will be helpful to others as well. So till the exam, will keep in touch with me. So I'll give possible questions, and I am having a list of target areas, right? These target areas definitely will be tested in the exam, right? So I will share that as well. Yeah, will that do? Keep in touch with me, and so always there to help you all. So I want to see that progression and uh, results, right? So we'll make it happen, and there's no any other chance. Don't think about the second chance or syllabus. After the new syllabus you are planning, so don't do it. This is the high time to you can focus to the exam, and we'll do it. So I'm here to support. Your commitment will be rewarded at the exam. So if you can put effort, so we'll do that. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. Right. So then, good night. So hope that you are working hard, and we'll discuss this complex theoretical things in the session next time. And yes, so I will create the WhatsApp group including all of you all. So keep that news message to your friends as well. So then we'll help them as well. So then whatever the content we are discussing, talk to them and give that message. So then that's very good. So that will improve yourself. So keep that good positivity and that passion. Yeah. All in all, thanks a lot. So we'll meet up with another effective live session next week. Uh, okay then. Thank you. Good night.
Nice, sir.
Good night.
Good night, sir.